Warning: this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised.
Keep the demon inside me. Keep the demon inside me. Keep the demon inside me.
Welcome from wherever you are. This is The Demon Inside with your host, John Venom. If you want to review a different episode of The Demon Inside, you can find them on Spotify or Anchor. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. A new episode will come out every Monday. And now to our show.
Keep the demon inside me.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Welcome back to The Demon Inside.
For that, to be able to provide something, anything to a victim of a. It's wonderful that that's going to happen, even though it's been 39.
After more than 4 decades, investigators say the 19th murder of 25-year-old Kathleen Doyle solved.
We were contacted the end of last week regarding a cold case they were investigating. They developed a suspect here.
That suspect, 70-year-old Dennis Bowman, at this house on 132nd Avenue in Hamilton. Friday morning, deputies of the Allegan office custody.
We've got a lot of different law enforcement partners together because it's not, common for us to have an investigation that's multi-state. Our resources would be split so much. So
Bowman is being charged out of Virginia, extradited to face charges related to the homicide. Back in Allegan County, investigators Friday property.
Well, as a result of that arrest and the suspect living here in Allegan County, search warrants have been obtained so that our Norfolk Police Department searched the residence, obviously. Linked the suspect to their cold case homicide. The resources are different.
Statement: Norfolk police citing forensic evidence. Bowman to wife's statistic that the arrest will close.
A very cooperative effort that resulted, hopefully, in investigation.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to The Demon Inside. Today we're going to be talking about Dennis Bowman. So this is kind of a newer case because Dennis Bowman wasn't really found out until 2019, and that happened through DNA, which DNA has been catching quite a lot of people. So we're going to be starting to see a lot of these serial killers that were never caught before in cold case files through DNA. They're going to start catching them, I'm sure. This case is kind of the eye-opener. So Dennis Bowman is a 70-year-old man now, and his home is in Hamilton in Norfolk, Virginia, and he's connected to the 1980 murder of 25-year-old Kathleen Doyle. And Kathleen Doyle, it was actually 4 years after her case in 1980 and 1984 that the investigation sort of got new breath into it, because they thought at that time that Henry Lee Lucas was actually her killer. And later on, they found out that Henry Lee Lucas was basically full of shit. Now, Henry Lee, of course, he did kill people, but during his confessions, he was confessing to a lot of crimes that he knew nothing about. And he would more or less get lucky because they would kind of tell him as a reminder of, oh yeah, this lady was stabbed, or this person was shot, and he would be like, oh yeah, I remember them. So once they found out that Henry Lee Lucas had nothing to do with her murder, with Kathleen Doyle's murder, the case went cold for pretty much up until 2019. So the case was given to a new detective who was in charge of the cold case files, and the Doyle case was the first one that he was doing. He went ahead and did the genealogy test, and it came back to Mr. Bowman. So they brought Mr. Bowman in for questioning, and he's a 70-year-old man at this point. But I went ahead and took some of that interrogation so you can hear this, and this is really creepy. This is what I've been talking about this whole time on the show about the demon inside.
The strategy that I prepared was repeating back to him what I think I understand about him. I said, I feel like your aggression from being mistreated down through the years has led to your anger and has fueled your rage. So
what the officer is talking about here is that he was the only male in his family. He had 4 sisters, and his sisters and his mother would traumatize him all the time, according to him. So he had a hatred for women. Let's continue.
Your background, understand things bottled up. Well, yeah. Fueled your aggression, right? And that's what I'd like to talk to you more about, Dennis. Are those instances and what was going through your mind here in Norfolk in September of 1980?
Okay. Then I will tell you exactly what happened.
Okay.
First of all, that was the period of which I go to the Tweed Resort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 600 miles away from anybody I know.
Mm-hmm.
I wound up like an 8-day clock. I said, okay, I got to get off this ship.
Right.
And I walked into a little bar. Well, I got stupid drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just crazy, stupid drunk. I sat there for about, I'll bet, 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know how I was going to get back to base.
Mm-hmm.
So you did hear him right. He said that he had to get back to base. He was in the Army at this time, and he was serving in the United States Army. And he got off of a ship, went and got drunk at a bar, and started walking around. Let's continue.
I couldn't afford a cab or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's night, and walking down the street, and I walked past his house, and I said, I wonder if they got some loose money right around. And I went up to the window, got out a pocket knife, got it opened up the window. I almost fell in the house. I was drunk. I mean, I was just drunk. And I looked in the top drawers, because everybody's got a junk drawer.
Right.
There was another door. Opened it up. And she was right. She sat up and started to scream. I still had that little penknife in my hand.
Right.
And when I went to push her back down, she grabbed that hand. I can see it right in my mind. That knife going right there. I blanked out right there, and I said, "Lady, I'm leaving."
Mm-hmm.
And I walked out the front door.
So as he's going through this, and he's telling me, I realize he's leaving out key details. The ties, the bindings, the other stab. But nonetheless, I'm taking what I can get from him, and again, not coming across threatening, that very soft approach, just allowing him to tell me his version of events.
Do you remember having sex with her?
No.
arms? Have you tied her up at all?
No, I don't know that either.
Did he genuinely black out and not remember these events? It was my job to see if I can pull out some of these other details.
We have talked about it before. Did he black out? Did something take over? You know, there was a lot of other serial killers and a lot of these mom killers that the people describe them as having blank faces and them not remembering what they did. Could this be the same thing?
I wanted him to draw a diagram of the house to see if that maybe would jog some things in his memory in the event that he did legitimately black out.
Let's start out just by drawing inside the house. Let's just start out with that.
Officer Smith at this time told him to draw things from the house. Maybe it would jog his memory because he had already showed him a picture and he really didn't remember. So he starts to draw the inside of the house, and it's kind of interesting because he draws the house exactly the way it is. Let's get past that.
Maybe you want to describe it to me as you're kind of going along.
Kitchen.
Okay.
There's a door there.
Okay.
Came out of this room and the living room.
Okay.
She was right there. As soon as I opened the door. Right there is where everything happened.
He's putting himself inside the house and he's describing every single detail to a T that we had.
We'll be right back after a few words from our sponsors. Welcome back to The Demon Inside. So Dennis Bowman keeps drawing, and he draws himself in the picture as well as a demon. Now this is the part that is for us. Listen to this.
Yes, Dennis. And the demon used to be right out here in front, right? Had a little pointed beard, horns, claws.
The demon.
The demon.
His voice just completely took a different tone and a different demeanor.
But now, the demon's in here. And it still tries to get out. But I won't let it.
I know the recording is a little bad, but he tells the officer that the demon is inside of him and that he has trouble keeping it there. But as long as he keeps it there, then the demon's in control. It's when the demon loses control that he can't. And that's when he blacks out. And that's when he does evil things. So now we get to the part of the interview where Dennis, actually tries to describe what it feels like having the demon inside of him. And it's very interesting, and I know it's going to be kind of hard to hear, but let's give it a shot.
The explosion hits. You turn to fury. You're full of adrenaline. All right, you just... I don't know how to explain it. You're superhuman. You do something and it sets it off. Anything.
So during that clipping, he actually says that he feels superhuman, and he feels like he's charged with energy. And that's what the demon makes him do.
Tell me about that demon.
I'm just... It's like I got electricity. My arms are just... It's like I got... like electricity going through everything.
Sure.
My sister asked my wife, said, I
was, is this the typical Dennis Bowman to where he's playing this cat and mouse game to see what kind of story he can tell me? Or is this some internal force that he genuinely deals with and has dealt with, off and on his entire life?
So now we have even the investigator asking, is this an internal force that he's been dealing with his whole life? And I don't know if you had heard it, but even his sister had asked his wife, are there two Dennises? Are there two different Dennises? Because the demon would take over, and it was a completely different person.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Dennis, but the demon coming out and you doing things that you normally wouldn't do. Is that accurate?
Yes, yeah.
And here the investigator's asking him if the demon is the thing that takes control, and he says yes.
Not tonight. I'm just looking, and I can see her.
You can see yourself
I
in the
can
bed.
see her stomach when I.
Obviously didn't have any clothes on.
No, she had clothes on.
Well, she must not have had clothes on here if you
Well,
can see her stomach.
I don't know. Maybe you're. I don't know. I know she was wearing a nightgown.
Okay.
And that's when I blanked out. I remember when I left.
All right, let's stop for a second.
I don't remember.
Dennis had so many key details before and after. I never believed that he legitimately blacked out and did not remember having sex with her.
You don't remember having sex with her?
I don't remember having sex with her.
Is that something you normally forget?
Not normally, no. But this was not normal. This was when I was extremely, extremely, extremely upset, and I broke.
So the detective starts pushing him on the rape of the girl and the killing, and he says that he just built and built and built until he broke. It was all that anger, and that pretty much it was the demon that came out of him. After all that, the detective decides he's going to push harder. And in pushing harder, it's really weird because he kind of reverts to a childlike type situation. In other words, he starts acting like a child and just throwing a fit that he didn't do it.
I just still can't wrap my hands around the fact that he just didn't remember doing all these other things to her. I had to take kind of a harsher, more aggressive approach.
I don't think you were as drunk as you say you were. Other intricate details that you're giving me matches things that we have. But you're leaving out having sex with this woman. Yeah, hold on. But
you keep going over the
I want you to hear
and
me
I
out.
don't know. I can't remember ever having sex with this woman.
That's where we got your DNA, is from having sex with this girl. Nobody's going to believe you.
I was starting to call him out on some of his lies.
You beat the hell out of that girl. And you stabbed the hell out of that girl.
I did not.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
you did. Yeah, you did. You beat her to a bloody pulp.
So Dennis Bowman continues on saying that he doesn't remember, and the interview pretty much stops after that because he just will not accept the fact that he killed and raped her. He wants to believe that he left and she was still alive. So later on, I think it was 3 months later, he calls his wife. So his wife, Deborah, had a daughter. Them two had a daughter that was adopted. And they were raising her. And when she was about 14, Dennis said that she had run away, that she had stolen like $300 from them and ran away. And they hadn't seen her in 30 years. So what Dennis decides to do is to call his wife from prison. And this is that call from prison about their adopted daughter. Take a listen to this.
Brenda, Andrea's buried in our backyard. If you look up towards the concrete in the backyard, she's underneath the left-hand side of that in a cardboard bed. Oh my God. She's been with us all along. So now here it is. Now you know where she is. At least you'll have her in a tin jar on a shelf. Now you know I'm a rotten, stinking son of a bitch.
After the police heard this call, they opened up the case again against Andrea Bowman, who was last seen in March of 1989. And they found her under a concrete slab in the backyard of Bowman's Hamilton home. Bowman told police he pushed the teen downstairs, killing her, after she threatened to report that he had molested her. He called police that day to report his daughter had stolen $100 from him and his wife and had run away from home. But in reality, Bowman had cut off Andrea's legs so that her body would fit in a barrel. He said he buried the barrel at the family's Holland area home at the time and then reburied it. So get this, when they moved to Hamilton, he unburied her and reburied her at the new home after they moved.
Fox 17 News at 5 starts right now.
First today, the wife of a man accused of killing their adopted daughter more than 30 years ago now says he admitted to the murder and even helped lead investigators to her remains.
Dennis Bowman's wife took the stand during his preliminary hearing in Allegan County today. Our Julie Dunmeyer joins us in the newsroom with more on what was said in court. Julie?
Doug and Annie, Dennis Bowman long suspected of killing his 14-year-old adopted daughter, Andrea. But today in court, we heard testimony from his wife that he even admitted to doing it.
I have confessed to the death of my daughter, Andrea. I myself and no one else.
A written confession from the hands of Dennis Bowman 30 years after his teenage daughter disappeared.
At some point when Andrea was approximately 13 to 14 years old, do you recall her making a disclosure about abuse by the defendant?
Yes.
Was that sexual abuse?
She told me one morning that Dad had molested her. And I looked at her and I told her, and I says, and that's a lie and you know it.
That's the voice of Brenda, Dennis Bowman's wife. She says after that claim, they took Andrea to a counselor at Bethany Christian and that she recanted the story. But less than a year later, Andrea disappeared. Bowman showing up at his wife's work to tell her she'd run away.
What did he say to you when he came?
He said that Andrea had run away. She had taken money out of the baby's bedroom and she had taken the income tax money off his dresser and took her duffel bag and she was gone.
For 30 years, she was listed as a missing person, but Andrea hadn't run away.
When you got off work that night then at 11 p.m., did you look for Andrea?
I don't think so.
It wasn't until 2019 when Bowman was arrested for a separate murder in Virginia in 1980 that his wife says he revealed he'd known where Andrea was all along.
We had a meeting at the jail and he basically told me that Andrea was dead and it was his fault.
Following up that meeting with the confession letter that Brenda says was meant to help her break the news to their families. In a later phone call from jail,
he was talking something about so near, so far, right under your nose, and I says, what the hell are you talking about? And he goes, Andrea, she's buried in the backyard. And I said, no, she's not. We didn't even live here then. And he says, well, I moved her from the other house as soon as we signed papers on the land.
Brenda was unsure if he was telling the truth. She felt there had been so many lies already. But investigators started digging the next day, finding Andrea's remains buried in trash bags.
And after I stood over the spot for a few minutes, I turned and I was going to walk back, and Todd walked me back to the house. And all I could say to him is, he didn't lie to me this time. He didn't lie, Todd.
Brenda says her husband claimed he and Andrea had an argument about her running away, that he slapped her and she accidentally fell down the stairs. But the medical examiner could not determine Andrea's cause of death because 3 decades had passed by the time her remains were found. Bowman was bound over today to stand trial on murder charges in Andrea's death. Live in the newsroom, Julie Dunmeyer, Fox 17 News.
So, was Dennis Bowman possessed? Did he have a demon living inside of him that he was keeping down? Did the demon inside make him forget everything that he did? Or maybe Dennis Bowman's just a liar who decided that he was going to say that a demon did it. How many other killings did he do? How many other killings are going to be out there? Maybe if he didn't have the demon inside of him, he wouldn't have got away with it for so long. Thanks for listening this week to The Demon Inside. I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe to The Demon Inside on Spotify, Anchor, or any other podcast directory, or through our website, anchor.fm/The Demon Inside. A new episode of The Demon Inside comes out each Monday. Let us know what you think and join the conversation on our Demon Inside Facebook page and on Instagram. We thank you for listening and hope you'll join me next Monday for a new Demon Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, tell your friends. I'm John Venom. We'll see you next time, if I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was created and written by James Porter. It's a production of Venomous Entertainment. Theme music, Demon Inside, is on the album Conjure One by Reese Fulber. Background music was created by Lucas King.